Hello and welcome to Jake's RC Adventures. I'm Jake. We are here like usual in the Cave of Death. I've only recently started calling this the Cave of Death, but it's because this is where RC cars come to die.
Fatality.
Just recently, good friend of mine bought the new Traxxas TRX-4M, brought it out here, less than 30 minutes, boom. All the gears in the servo were stripped. Hugely disappointing, but probably should not have been surprising considering where we are. But we are here today to do an honest first impressions video on the Ax24 from Axial Adventure that was released today. So I don't want to give you a negative video, I don't want to give you a positive video, I want to give you a little bit of both and talk about where it fits into the market and whether or not it's going to be a good thing. So stick around and let's talk about this cool new micro crawler. So if you're not familiar or you haven't seen anything about the Ax24 or you don't know anything about Axial history, the Ax24 is a throwback to one of Axial's first crawlers, the AX10. So what is unique about this crawler, what is different about this crawler from the SCX24 is that it comes from the factory with rear steer, and that's kind of a big deal. We've had a lot of rear steer capable RTR crawlers in the past, even micro crawlers, but the quality and design of those crawlers was not up to par with the Axial quality that we have come to expect. So you've got Spectrum electronics and you've got rear steer and a new chassis with a body that looks like it'll actually clear the tires. It is something new. Now, the term pretty good performance segues us into our next thing, price. These are coming in at about 150 bucks. Do I wish they could have brought it in a little bit cheaper? Sure, but I still believe that an Axial with rear steer and 24th scale is a pretty good deal. And I want to segue from that and from the capability and from the price right into immediately available modifications. Right from the factory, right from launch, we've got a lot of mods available. We've got a brass diff cover. We've got a brass servo mount. We've got brass hexes, like why even mention that? But we've got some brass hubs that are looking very, very meaty. I mean, that's a lot of brass on this thing. The design looks pretty aggressive. There could be some downsides to that we'll talk about in a second. And finally, they've got carbon fiber chassis sides. It can't all be good, right? There's nothing wrong with buying carbon fiber for your rig. They're going to tell you that it's going to aid performance by lowering the weight on the top of the vehicle. Guys, swapping from plastic to carbon fiber in a piece this small is not really going to do anything for your performance. However, more power to them for offering it. A lot of people will tell you, I'm sure, that it's a must-have. It won't be, but these things being available right away is undoubtedly a good thing, and hopefully they will also be affordable. So let's go into some of our negatives, and we do have some negatives here. The biggest downside to this, guys, is the one thing that Axial should have changed years ago, the servos. Now, the AH1 servo with servo saver might have performed acceptably with small tires with this body, since the body looks like it has good clearance for the tires. However, we do have big tires and they are offering a lot of weight from the get-go. The problem with the AH1 servo, it's an incredibly cheap and lightweight, which is a good thing, an incredibly cheap servo, plastic gears on the inside with a servo saver. And so what that servo saver does is it allows the rig to take impacts from falls or binding or anything else without damaging the very weak internals of the servo. The problem is, a lot of times when you need to get that tire over, even with the limited power that the AH1 servo can provide, instead of turning your tires, you will turn the servo saver instead. And again, we do have big tires and a lot of weight from the factory. if you glue your stock AH1 servo saver, or you buy an aftermarket metal arm that deletes the servo saver, which I absolutely suggest that you do not do, you will smoke the servo. If you are crawling, you don't have to be in the cave of death. If you are crawling and pushing your limits a bit, it will die. And so I really wish, you know, FMS model and Hobby Plus, even, people used to laugh at Hobby Plus. They're offering far superior servos in the same price range, even for vehicles that are bigger and heavier with bigger tires from the factory. I really wish that Axial would have given an Emax equivalent in their stock RTR form years ago, long before this release. A segue directly from that is going to be the parts bin special. We get the same axles, we get the same crappy servos, it looks like we get the same shocks. It is smart for a company to do this. It does help keep the costs down. If it wasn't for the servos, I wouldn't even say that this was a loss at all. I think that the stock Axial shocks are highly, highly underrated for the amount of travel that they give, for their overall length and for their weight. But we do have a parts bin special, and looks are subjective, guys, but it does look like it would be being sold at Walmart. And this could be because of the rigs that came before it with rear steer and high clearance bodies. That could have been said about the Losi Nightcrawler or whatever else. But, you know, people have been making Walmart jokes. It probably is deserved. I understand that we're doing a throwback back to the AX10, but how about we do a throwback back to the AX10, but make the body a little more realistic, make it look like it actually got dovetailed, make it look like it actually was at one time a scale vehicle that was modified into a purely performance-oriented vehicle. A little bit of a bummer, but at the end of the day, guys, customizing bodies is like half the fun of this entire hobby that we have here. So I think we'll be able to see some pretty sick bodies being slapped onto these things pretty doggone quickly. I think that the Tinker Time RC Demi Goblin is going to look absolutely killer on this rig. And when it comes to being a parts bin rig, we do at least have a new chassis, so they've got that going for them. The only real downside here, besides the servos, is kind of Axial themselves. They're going to send these out to their sycophants. You're going to see every YouTube channel that is just a infomercial that's meant to look like a grassroots channel doing positive videos on this. If there are issues with the platform, it likely won't be mentioned by many channels for a very long time. If there's one channel that I believe will do an honest review, I think Matt at 2FMRC will do a honest video. I know he has some coming in here. If you're not subscribed to Matt at 2FMRC, I highly suggest that you do so, because I believe he puts out honest content. Outside of that, it just sucks, guys. We're gonna have people saying that they're playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. What I would have liked to have seen from this rig is for Axial to have released this thing 2 or 3 years ago, maybe when they released the Betty. And I would like to have seen more progress since then. I can't help but feel like Axial has been lazy with this design, sitting on their laurels, and they defined this segment, but everybody else is catching up, and many people will say that other people like Traxxas have gone ahead of Axial. So I don't know yet if I agree with that, but I think Axial has needed to do a few things with the Ax24 before this. I think that swapping the servo to something like an Emax, and then releasing this a little bit earlier with the and having V2 electronics across the board, because no Ax24 should be sold with V1 electronics anymore. That would have been enough to keep me satisfied And so let's talk about overall thoughts here. I still love the Ax24. I really do. I do think personally that I like it better than the FCX24 or the CR18P, and I certainly like it better than the TRX4M. There are caveats to that, and then there are certainly things that I like that FMS has done better, and there's certainly things that I like that Hobby Plus has done better. But the SCX24, you know, my friend's son came out here with that TRX4M, less than 30 minutes, it's gone. His son has brought an SCX24 out here multiple times and has ran it all over the place, and it's solid. My experience with the SCX24s is with the way that they're geared, the way that the axles work, it's easy to get a low CG, and besides the servo, they're relatively bulletproof. I have hundreds and hundreds of hours on SCX24s. Again, besides the servo, the only thing that I've had gone wrong, I have smoked an ESC. Literally smoked, as in like it wanted to catch on fire. Bought another one and I moved on. I wasn't even mad about it. I had so much wear on the rig at this point that you could already see wear to the tires themselves. And I obviously run this stuff hard, guys. So I think I still prefer the SCX24. And so what the AX24 is going to bring to this market is, I think, a mainstream use of four-wheel steering. It's going to be an easy way for the casual enthusiast to get into four-wheel steer. They don't have to get super custom. They can buy the rig, they can swap the servos, they've already got the controller, they've already got the receiver. This is, I believe, is also going to be a great opportunity for people who are a little bit more serious in the hobby, but not super serious, like maybe Matt at 2FMRC is, because he's playing Legos with all this stuff, and he can make it happen, right? But now, anybody hopefully will be able to buy this receiver and transmitter and do their own four-wheel steer setup. So overall, I think that this rig is going to be very positive for the community as a whole. I think that the price is right. The only things that I think is wrong here, or maybe not ideal, is the release time and how Axial operates. Axial and Traxxas are probably the least enthusiast-friendly brands on the market. They are not going to work with people on social media. They're not going to answer messages. They're not going to repost people. They're absolutely hands-off, like we're a bunch of dirty peasants and they're too good for us. And that's a bummer, and that's where we see some of these Chinese-based businesses, in my experience, like FMS, and even Enjora themselves, doing a lot better. There's actually someone there to answer questions. So that's really cool. Now, FMS is not putting on events like Axial Fest, and having the ability to meet these people and have Axial Fest, that's a big plus too. But yeah, I'm excited. Overall, I'm excited to see how it does out here. You know, if it can come close stock or even with the Axial factory modifications to running the Unlimited line here, it'll be mind-blowing, and I think that this is going to be good for the community and the hobby as a whole. So I'm stoked. Are you? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, especially if you're really mad right now. If you're really mad and you think I'm completely wrong, I would really appreciate if you would write me paragraphs about why in the comment section below. We all love that. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a blessed day.